Namaskaram. During one of my exhibitions, I was narrating an event of the past of Jagannath of Puri in Sri Mandir to a group of visitors when an agitated calligrapher asked me, "Where are the alphabets?" My answer bewildered him. "I've not drawn alphabets," I replied. I had moved on to the panel of my work depicting Rama and the differences of the narration in the south from that of the rest of India. He asked me how much time did it take. I said 7 years, and much of the time I was struggling to draw Anjaneya. He had the expression of wonderment. "What took you so much time?" I could interpret his silence. As I was practicing drawing home, I stumbled upon the form of Anjaneya, and that completed the series, I replied. The conversation led to the poster nibs and the use of the nibs for simplification of the image, the ink used, and the strokes which can be drawn with this tool. The poster nibs are for writing Latin and Arabic scripts. Since the Devanagari nibs were not available, I had to use the English poster nibs to simulate the Devanagari strokes. This was possible by rotating the page to draw the strokes. Then the next question popped up. "Do you use red?" "No, it's not red," I said. "It's a combination of scarlet and crimson. 1:1. Crimson to give its depth and scarlet to give the glint." The question, "Where are the alphabets?" persisted. Incidentally, my calligraphy is pictorial. I do not use the nib just to write the scripts. Rather, the tool imbibes a scriptural attribute to the images. I may choose to draw a sweeping line, adding a twist and a turn, or draw a short curve just to characterize a form of a tree, cow, peacock, men and women, or imagine the divine gods and goddesses, instead of drawing a written word. And this happens because I stopped seeing the strokes as a means to write only. Rather, the strokes transform as meaning in my works. This is not about calligraphy as a medium. It is about pushing the boundaries and finding the unlimited opportunity to make calligraphy as expressive as possible. I met Sri Nikhil Kundar in Jahangir, who had come to see my works. He gifted me a set of handcrafted holders. As I had a poster nib, I tried it on an oblique holder, and I was surprised to see that I could use the holder to make the nib mimic the Devanagari script. I used the nib to draw the thin, thick, thin stroke and use it to draw a form, an image, a sound, leading to a narration of a story in the visual language. Say a few strokes together in a rhythmic form, a plume and a flute represents Krishna. A feminine form next to Krishna is Radha or Rukmini. A few more strokes forming cows add up to Krishna as the cowherd. It is the simple strokes that make one listen to the Mahamantra, the narration of an event, or just the divine presence. When we draw an image representing the sound, it becomes specific to that sound and that which we hear in the mind. In turn, we respond to it with a spoken language which has a visual clue in the image. When we read a message received from a friend, we tend to hear the message in his or her voice. These clues are culture-specific, evolved over a period to the sounds and the tools used to write or engrave and the visual nature around that society. We have replicated the English Latin font in Indian languages as it was a requirement of advertising till the 90s. The Western designers have used their space division for drawing our alphabets and giving them their names. The scripts are unique and area-specific to geographical locations that was evolved based on the surface they wrote on. The characters in our languages are more in number, and there exists a whole lot of joint characters which are specific to pronunciation. Along with these, there are unique words representing emotions. For the physical structure of the words and the sentence, the reference is the pothi, the handwritten text, and the aesthetics of it. For example, the script was written on a palm leaf. The texture of the leaf makes the tool move in a particular form, giving it a different look. The same carved on a stone, copper plates, cloth or bhoj, each surface creates a different form, and that is how the script evolves. Thus, the variation is based on how a chisel is manipulated by an artist craftsman. Koili Mukherjee Ghosh, my curator, with whom I work, does beautiful alpana with wet rice powder and writes Bangla with it. She also uses bamboo quill and ink. The structure of the script looks so beautiful. According to the methods and processes, the reference point always should be the existing forms of the script, and that could be modified into new script. It will be great if a regional character is applied to the image so that it has the aesthetic of the people of that region. Moreover, we need a coin we need to coin a new word for our scripts. During a conversation with Dr. Santosh Sagar of Sir J.J. School of Applied Art, Mumbai, mentioned the word Akshar. We could use it as a suffix such as Devanagari Akshar, Bangla Akshar, Tamil Akshar, and so on, instead of calling them Indian Indic scripts, loosely used by many designers. One cannot call it Indic as saying of Indian. It could be also confused with the native Indian American or native Indian tribes in the Americas. Indic is used by Western historians to denote the group of Indo-European languages comprising Sanskrit and the modern Indian languages that are its descendants. We need to investigate this, and more research needs to be done as Tamil and Sanskrit are the oldest languages in the world. Tamil had a script, but Sanskrit never had a script. And Sanskrit was and still is written in all Indian scripts. It is again wrongly mentioned that Sanskrit is written only in the Devanagari script. We need to get things right at our end about the language and the link between the sound and imagery created in the mind by the visible form of the written word. We need to learn the scripts, both Western and Indian, to learn the visual grammar of the script. And then we need to create a new script so that we have a variety of them. For example, every one of us has a different type of writing, and each of these can be converted to different styles of writing. When it comes to a language scripts, we are as good as none. Professor G.V. Sreekumar of IDC IIT Powai agrees that we need some more people in the area of calligraphy and typeface design in the regional languages. In most of our art institutions, we do not have teacher designers, not just teachers, to teach type design and experiment in calligraphy. We in India need a lot of type designers. A few who are working in this area are accountable in one hand, as it is not given much importance, and we do not respect the designer who has spent a lot of time creating a font. In our state, we have only one type designer, Sri Sridhar Murthy, an alumnus of JNTU Hyderabad. He has done some great work in Telugu and all Indian scripts. Others are not known, not seen, not heard. In the Devanagari script, there are a lot of artist designers who have enriched the script and motivated a generation of people to write. Sri Achyut Palav is a master who is known to one and all. He and his students have been working to evolve various scripts. Sarang Kulkarni operates a typography studio, and I'm aware that people are working in most of the Indian languages. Sri Jamyang Dorji has done very beautiful work in the Tibetan language calligraphy. Today we can see the impact of Sri Narayana Bhattathiri's work. He has done some great work in Malayalam calligraphy and has been an inspiration to a lot of people who write in the Malayalam script. People who want to learn to write must remember that it does not happen in a week. One needs to spare time to write, and it may take years before one becomes a master. We need to go back to our roots and use the knowledge of space division and construction of written script in our design practice. The design will be more intuitive and they will be in tune with the individuals creating it. Let me give you an example from the Natya Shastra. The dancer or the performer starts narrating or enacting a story or an event, enacting the roles of all the characters. The dancer makes us see them in their image of a hero, a villain, a pious woman, a brave man, or emoting anger, love, hate, arrogance, pride, valor in the performance. We experience these, and at one point, the dancer is not seen as we get absorbed in the narration. Fonts are like the dancer, not visible at times and communicating a thought, a narration, a sound, or an experience. We use a Western template, which got evolved over a period in their society and culture. It is unique to its geographical region. In the context of Indian design, a new grid needs to be created for each of the scripts or use the grids which were created by the artist craftsmen in the past. They had Agni, masculine, and Shakti, feminine grids. If a given space is divided into an odd number of spaces, it is Agni, and if it is even, then it is Shakti. We need to create terminology so we could document it in Indian languages and English for an international audience. A new design practice needs to be evolved, which involves documentation as a must and granting authorship respecting the contribution of individual designers, studios and schools. This thought takes me back to an incident in school back in 84-85. I had just finished a set of infographics, medical symbols for the project I was working on. I took my work to Professor Vittalrao Bhimrao Lokhande, who was my teacher. He saw the work, liked it, and explained a whole lot of things, including the way to see, visual identification, and simplification. He said that I need to think something else, as this was already done by Professor Shashikant Sate in Sir J.J. School of Applied Art in the mid-70s. He took out a printed document and gave it to me. That was the first document I saw of Indian design. I believe his son has printed a book on his work. Each of the students should be taught to document and write about their work and share it with other designers, so one day we could have the Indian School of Design. Academics should take the lead. The artist craftsman work needs to be documented so that the rich cultural heritage is retained, which in turn would give space to Indian design. Design is a combination of a few elements. Functionality is the axis around which revolves the aesthetic adapted to it. Its usage is certain culture and the emotion that concern it. The design process itself gives an insight into the culture and its practices. It culminates this understanding into an unhindered, stressless, functional experience. The concept of design was new to me. Back in 1980, before I joined the art school, I only knew what was not working and what was working. Every assignment made me visit the library to learn the basics of what was taught. I did not understand the medium of instruction, so I spent a lot of time in the library. I had two gadgets. One was a tape player and a sound recorder, the other a scribble book and a pencil to note down the information I needed for the assignment. Coming to the present scenario, I find everyone has a gadget that records, takes stills, and moving pictures capturing emotions of every moment. It gives access to thousands of visual images and virtual classrooms to learn from. A computer that helps in putting together ideas in software to make designing easier. It also connects you to a digital space where you can access instructional videos and material on various subjects. This information is also available to everyone who can access it. This information is and could be used for creating visual experiences. What you take and how you use it makes all the difference. We are a people who love the written word, which is a symbol of or a combination of symbols that create an image or sound in your mind, typical to a community. Thanks to the digital space with information, one can practice the art of drawing a letter, leading to mastering a script. We are the luckiest people as this technology has happened in our lifetime, so we can make use of it for learning and creating good design. Our teachers did not have this luxury, and the information they had was after a lot of struggle. They created from scratch and formulated methods to create fonts and experiment with calligraphy, with existing references from museums and personal collections of poetry. They brought the enjoyment of creating, which they transferred to us so we could have the same pleasure and enjoyment as they had in discovering and redrawing the scripts. We need to look back, source out references of our predecessors, and start work, learning the skills as the teachers did. Learning the skills is much easier now, hence the creation of individual designers will have a unique look and experience the font. With the experience of 36 years I had in advertising and design, I have seen lettering artists draw headlines in Indian language scripts overnight, and the artworks were ready the next day. We had tracing sheets, graph papers, French curves to work with. Now with a phone and a computer, you can be much faster and have the opportunity to complete the basic shapes in English in a month. Once the drawings are ready, you can shift to the technicalities. Coming to Indian language scripts, we have more letters that could take 2 to 3 months and then shift to the details of converting it into functional fonts. We have a very short time to catch up. If we do not create functional fonts in Indian languages, we will lose the scripts and end up with romanization of Indian scripts. We need to create variations in fonts for various mediums, from digital books, e-books, phones, web pages, digital text, sound to text, and text to sound. All of them have a different construction. Once a functional script is made, 2 specifications of technical usage, then to follow that becomes easier. I'm sharing information about 2 professors whom I have never met, but have learned from their work. Professor Raghunath Krishna Joshi and Professor Mukund Gokhale. They were pioneers in Indian scripts and font design. Both of them studied at Sir J.J. Institute of Applied Art, Mumbai, achieved milestones on their own strengths. I'm sharing a brief profile of both of them as their contribution has to be acknowledged historiographically. Professor R.K. Joshi was involved in multilingual communication activities as part of the Indian advertising industry for almost 30 years. As faculty at the Industrial Design Center, IIT Mumbai, he began academic and research projects in promoting Indian languages and scripts in the field of design and computer technology. He inspired a whole generation of students on typography and type design. Some of these students went on to design typefaces in many of the Indian languages. One of the most notable academic events at IDC, Akshara Yoga, in 1986 was held under his direction. He had also coordinated an international exposition of calligraphy, Akara, in New Delhi in 1988. Students reckon him as a highly motivating force in typography and Indian type design. Professor Joshi conducted a wide variety of activities centered around seeking and spreading knowledge on type, poetry readings, workshops, seminars, demonstrations, installations, happenings, and exhibitions. On 9th February 2007, Professor Joshi had addressed the audience at the Icograda Design Week in India conference, IIT Bombay, where he had received a standing ovation. He was presented with a Grandmaster Commendation on the occasion as a visiting type design specialist at the National Center for Software Technology. He contributed in the area of language technology and type design. Professor Mukund Gokhale had developed typefaces for Devanagari, Gujarati, Gurmukhi, Bangla, Assamese, Odia, Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, Malayalam, Sinhalese, Burmese, Thai, Tibetan, Limbu, Thai Ahom, Thai Khamti, Manipuri, Modi Marathi, Lepcha, and English. He executed 2 projects for the tribal scripts of Arunachal Pradesh for Thai Ahom and Thai Khamti scripts. Before this existence, there were no printing types available for these scripts. He engaged in various projects that involved identifying character sets, the study of the manuscript to understand the writing system and design logic, designing the system for casting metal types. This project was sponsored by the Teachers Association, Thai Literature Society, which were faced with the problems of romanization of their script in the region by Christian missionaries. The tribals were not in favor of romanization they wanted to learn in their mother tongue and script. The project was successfully executed in 1984-85, and the textbooks were to be printed with the type developed by the team. He mentioned that in the year 2002, the process of computerization was done for a desktop publishing system with a proper ergonomic keyboard layout and good fonts. He worked on the Meitei script of Manipur and the Lepcha script of Sikkim. A unique multifunctional word processor, Aksharayana, was being developed. This was to cover 32 European languages, composing facilities using a QWERTY keyboard and Vedic Sanskrit, Indian classic music notations with a phonetic keyboard. With a touch of a button, one can switch between English and Devanagari. From September 2009, his works with the Gond script commenced. He mentioned that at the time, there was no facility to print Gond script. Therefore, the tribes of Gond origin were deprived of education in their mother tongue. A basic book was to be printed in Gond script for the first time, keeping in mind education and learning for the Gond children. This engagement of developing text from the phonetics of various languages takes me back to the conversation of having no alphabets in my work. It is the characters that come together to narrate a story. It is the sound to visual representation and the visual to sound akin to developing scripts from a sound. And thus, when one truly engages, the script becomes the tool the mind engages with to listen to the sound and see a visual in the mind. The script along with the font must be created aesthetically and as a beautiful visual tool. I look forward to the discussions and approaches that would follow during today's talk on this platform because I see it as an opportunity for typographers and designers for the future to chart their course effectively and work collaboratively to have eloquent solutions for an impactful outcome in this area of work. Thank you. Namaskaram.